Hi everyone, Nora Crone here. I'm a violist in New York City, co-founder of the Till Project for String Players, and a musician's vocal dystonia recovery advocate. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing one of the most common pitfalls I come across in working with people recovering from dystonia: going too fast. Before we get into it, I just want to mention that if you're totally new here, you may wish to check out some of my previous videos where I explain more about the process that helped me recover from dystonia. I'll leave some links down below, but the short version is that through learning a system of playing called the Till approach with a violinist named Sophie Till, I gradually changed my brain through movement and my symptoms slowly disappeared. After about 2 years of regular lessons, I returned to professional playing, and now I have the great privilege of assisting others, primarily violists and violinists, in their recovery. So, going too fast, which often goes along with a kind of desperation or fear about losing our professional status or somehow falling behind in life. First off, this worry and impatience is pretty understandable. No one enjoys the experience of having their entire life basically derailed overnight by dystonia, and depending on our situation, we might feel compelled to keep up with our playing responsibilities no matter how overwhelming they are. Unfortunately, the reality that we all face at some point is that it doesn't matter whether only a few days have passed since the first emergence of dystonic symptoms or several decades, whether the movement-based strategy I'm advocating is the first thing that you've tried or the fifth, or whether you're an amateur musician who can take as much time off as you need to figure this out, or you're a soloist scheduled to play a concerto every week for the entire season. The process takes the time it takes for each of us individually, and it can't go faster than the brain can assimilate the new information. That realization can bring up some difficult feelings, to say the least, but in my experience, the sooner we accept it, the sooner we can get ourselves back on track. When we struggle to accept the pace that recovery can go and instead try and go too fast, either overloading the brain and body with too many new concepts or rushing to make it work with our repertoire, it's like trying to build a house on a shoddy foundation. Not only do we not accomplish more, we actually compromise the brain's capacity to build steadily on solid pieces of information. If you've seen my video on Route A and Route B, which I'll link to below, you'll know that the process I'm advocating involves learning a totally new set of movements with accompanying neural pathways that gradually accumulate to form a completely new approach to playing. That new approach, which we can think of as Route B, is totally different from the old dystonic Route A. Because the movements in Route B are based on the same physical logic that we use in daily life, they're sensible and reliable, and in many cases can be accessed quickly and directly. But neuroplastic change is not instantaneous, and more importantly, there are quite a few individual components that need to be functioning well together in order to do something as complex as playing difficult music. If we rush, we're likely to internalize those components only partially at best. The most obvious piece of advice is, slow down. Focus on the quality and consistency of the piece of Route B that you're trying to add in right now. That can seem absolutely terrifying, and I understand. But look at it this way. If you had the choice between building a bridge across a stream in half the time, but that only stands about a 20% chance of holding together, versus taking the extra time to build something that will actually remain standing, which would you choose? I know day-to-day concerns can make us feel absolutely desperate for a quick solution, but if you think about recovery as a long-term investment in your career and your health, it's really worth doing it right. Practically speaking, if you absolutely need to keep playing, the best ways I know of to speed the process are the following. In your playing, spend as little time as possible on Route A and make it abundantly clear to your brain and body which is which. If you have to learn a bunch of notes or play a rehearsal or concert and already know that Route B is not developed enough to completely meet the demands of the situation, then acknowledge to yourself, all right, this dysfunction is Route A, and that's okay. Beforehand, and ideally afterwards as well, even just for a couple of minutes, set aside conscious time to practice Route B, whether that means specific exercises or playing slowly through a passage or two with the correct movements. The best way to speed up the process in your practicing is to focus methodically on specific exercises and on solidifying the correct blueprints in controlled quantities rather than just jumping straight into playing and seeing what happens. The temptation to noodle around can be huge, especially if that used to form a large part of our time with the instrument. But unless we're consciously employing root B in our noodling, we're likely just reinforcing root A habits. Whatever it is that we're fixated on being able to do now, we will be able to do eventually, but only if we build a solid bridge from here to there. So focus on the bricks that are going to build that bridge. Lastly, sometimes our resources are limited. We might not have the money for regular lessons, or our practice time might be very short. But in general, what will speed the process along is seeking out as much contact as possible with root B as you can. If you can afford regular lessons, commit to it. Watch videos. There are plenty here on my YouTube channel and on the Till Project. 24-hour practice, by which I mean observing how our bodies behave in daily life, can be an excellent source of information as we're going about our regular activities. In the end, sustained contact with and practice of a new physical and cognitive approach to playing does provide a reliable, if challenging, path to recovery. If you've made it this far, I want to leave you with this. Dystonia can feel like we're being robbed of things that are vitally important to us. Our ability to express ourselves, our livelihood, even our identity. Whether we've been living with it for 10 days or 10 years, it's totally understandable that we would want to curtail this enormous sense of loss and regain control. But in my experience, real recovery almost always means accepting that while we can influence the speed of the process with our choices, we can't necessarily make it conform to the timeline or demands that we've placed on it. Curiously, choosing to slow down can be the very thing that we need to get where we're going without getting lost a lot along the way. If you want support, you're welcome to reach out to me or to the Till Project. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with anyone you think could benefit. If you want to know more about dystonia recovery, you can subscribe to my channel. And if you want to know more about healthy string playing in general, you can also subscribe to the Till Project. I'm Nora Crone, and my website is www.noracrone.com. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.